If you're looking to increase your driver speed, I'm going to be sharing with you some real simple tips to pick up a little bit more distance. Make sure you check out this video. So as you can see, I'm joined today by James Bailey. His info is just going to come along at the bottom of the screen. Well worth checking him out on Facebook and Instagram. Lots of golf fitness related info on there that's going to help your game. Now, the reason I've brought James in today is because he gets it longer than me. We're going to be talking about generating more speed, more power off the tee with your driver. And we're going to be sharing with you, with the use of my force platform here, how shifting your pressure a little bit more aggressively into your trail foot in the backswing, then in the transition into that lead foot is going to help you pick up some extra speed. So in a minute, James, we're going to bring up the force platform data with the video bits and pieces so we can really see where your pressure is. And this is something that James does pretty well, is shifting his pressure. And when we used to have some problems, James and I have known each other for a number of years, and your old pressure shift, I guess, left a little bit to be desired, but as you've got bigger and stronger, you now shift your pressure a lot more efficiently and generate some pretty high speed. So what were we looking at there? 183 ball speed. So James doesn't really need to be picking up extra speed, but this is just how you could start to pick up some extra speeds with some real off-season training. And while we're on the subject, James and I are just going to be starting, what month are we now? Just starting into November. So James is going to help me on a bit of a speed quest because I'm a little bit more relatable for your average golfer at about 105 kind of club head speed. So we're going to be doing a bit of a series that's well worth checking out about me trying to gain some speed. So running through a TPI test with James looking at my mobility and flexibility. James is going to set me some gym programs, and I promise
you will
to do some work this winter and try and pick up some speed. So if I really click into V1 software here, and we get you on the mat. Okay, so I've got it on the dual screen there and where your pressure is. So if you can just take your right foot up in the air so everybody can see your left foot, so that lead foot, trail foot at setup. And what we're going to be talking about here, and I will show it in a second, is James, what he does before he actually swings, and we see this with a lot of power hitters, don't we?
Long drive guys.
Long drive guys, is they actually push almost onto their lead foot before they start the swing. And I guess it's similar to jumping. You sort of push down before you spring up. So because James is going to be shifting this pressure into his trail foot on the backswing, instinctively, I don't think you're particularly aware of it, are you?
No, it's just it's one of your ground force reactions where you kind of, in order to maximise your force from the ground, you kind of want to start a action in order to cause a reaction.
Yes, 100%. And it's almost sort of waking up your muscles a little bit. So he's sort of pushing there into his lead side before he starts the swing. And then what I actually see is an early shift. I'm hoping we're going to see, you're under pressure. We're going to see an early shift of pressure into his trail foot. It's actually very good for anyone who's struggling swaying off the ball. Although today we're talking about generating more speed. If you are someone who sways, it tends to happen in the sort of second half of the golf swing for a lot of golfers. So they don't shift, and then they shift a lot off the golf ball at the end of it, and we see almost a disconnection with the upper body and lower body. So there's something to be said with actually shifting early rather than shifting late. So James hopefully is going to be shifting into his trail foot, and then almost before he completes his backswing, in that transition movement, getting early into his lead side. And we've looked at James's trace before, and what he actually does is, he shifts into his left side and it actually backs up and moves away from it. And again, it's a trait we see with long hitters, is because they're applying so much force down into their lead side at the start of the downswing, they're almost pushing then off the floor and going backwards. And we see that sort of quick pressure shift, as I said, trail foot, lead foot, back to trail foot. But the key part that we're really going to be focusing on is the trail foot shift early. I think if I just record here, in fact, no, we can just use it. It's just live. So if you go ahead and hit me a shot, and we won't worry about too much with the ball flight. Hang on a second there, actually, James. Just jump off the mat a sec. Okay.
Are you all good?
Just had a bit of weird data going on. Let's try that again.
Got me now?
Good, absolutely perfect. Whenever you're ready. Excellent. So I will slow that down as well to help you guys see that. But what James did there at setup is he was actually, when he was getting ready, you were going left, right, left, right.
Find the midpoint.
I actually find is really important. Find that midpoint, find that balance point, know where your 50-50 is, and actually moving rather than a lot of static time. I mean, James and I are both looking at not only, I mean, you're more, I guess, the power side of it when you're looking at golf. I'm looking at the power accuracy side of it within a coaching point of view, but we quite often see people spending too much static time stood over the golf ball, which eliminates your speed. So what James was doing there was going left, right, left, right, left, right, and then very little static wasted time. He was about 55% onto his lead foot, but the numbers will be coming up here on the screen as I slow it down. 55 onto his lead foot. And what I saw is as he was starting his swing, or just about to start his swing, he put more and got to about 65. Now, when the club was at first parallel, we call it P2. So when the club, if you just swing back for us, was almost here, James was already then at 85% of pressure into his trail foot, so shifted very early. Got to a peak of about 90, but by the time he's completing his backswing here, his pressure is starting to get back to about 50-50, gets to about 80% very early, almost before his left arm is parallel on the downswing. Now we do see the pressure then going back, but that is a huge power source, and we were still recorded that one, didn't we? A 181. Ball speed. I think we're going to put him under a bit of pressure. We're going to go for one more, and the ball speed relies on not just good club head speed, but quality of strike. And I think when you're doing some training, you're unlikely to strike it as well initially. Exactly. So probably a better measurement would be actually looking at some club head speed gains rather than ball speed to start with. Now, ultimately, we want the ball, because we want the club head speed plus the efficiency to get distance out of it. But James's initial gain here would be what could we generate in terms of club head speed from shifting a little bit earlier in the swing. And we wouldn't mind as a winter gain, I guess, of even seeing that lead foot come off the floor a little bit to know that there is a shift into that trail foot. The benefit of lifting that lead foot in the backswing is we've got something to
push against.
Yeah, to push against, to push down and apply some force to the ground. So perhaps you can just show us that one, even if it's not James's normal swing. He doesn't lift his lead foot. But I think it's worth, in the winter, especially on the range, just trying out a few things to look at generating some more speed for your average golfer, isn't it? Just, oh, there we've got it. Perfect. Great.
Almost missed the ball.
So we're not going to worry too much about the direction there. What James is demonstrating really is how quick a pressure shift he can get by lifting his lead foot, getting that pressure into his trail side and getting it back into that lead side. We filmed a couple of videos together before, and again talking about speed and power. And we did one, and I will put a link just here that's well worth checking out, that James was demonstrating the sort of jumping off the floor into impact. And that was really talking about using those vertical forces. So that pushing down and then pushing off the floor. What we were looking at here was more the lateral forces, the shift of pressure from our trail foot to our lead foot.
And if we can put them both together and create as much vertical force and lateral force as possible, you get maximum power.
100%. You know, so we want to use all of them. There's 3 of those forces. James uses them very well. So shifting is that lateral force. The down and the up is those vertical forces. And there's also that rotational force. And what you'll have seen when I slow down the video there of James is how open your hips get at impact. And you're a little bit Rory-esque in the fact that your hips get very open. They stall, don't they?
And then continue.
And then they continue. And I guess we feel like it's almost for the arms to catch up, because there is that energy transfer of body fires. We know it's the lower body first, ideally, and then the upper body, then the arms, then the hands. So the arms have to, because of how quickly your lower body's moving, you've almost got to wait for it a little bit for your arms to catch up. Now, you and I, we may not, I'm grouping you with me here, you may not have that same issue as James, where the lower body's almost outrunning the upper body so quickly that he's got to almost stall and wait for it a little bit. But you'll have seen how open James's hips are. So today's video is really looking at creating more distance, more speed, using those lateral forces, shifting right to left. But as I said, it's worth checking out our other video where we're talking about those vertical forces as well, and some winter training is really going to help you maximize your speed. If you're new to my channel and you haven't already, I'd love you guys to consider subscribing, at least 2 instructional videos a week. And again, I'll just put the info here for James on his social media. Well worth checking out a lot of James's content.
Ask any questions you like regarding your own game, in regards to what you think you do and what you might not.
Comment box below. Get in touch, videos you'd like us to film together, any questions you got for myself or James, and we'll make sure we get back to you. Cheers guys, we'll see you next time.